Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very special live edition of Dockside at the Bay. I am Vinny. This is Kim. And for those of you who don't always watch the pre-recorded, normally we pre-record these episodes and then play them as if they're live. And then release them. Normally you're used to getting ads at the beginning, but we're doing this live today simply because of this. I didn't have time to record earlier in this week, but it just so happens that we decided to go live at Thursday at noon. So we're going to be talking all about The Bay, the 23-time Emmy award-winning series, web series. You could find it on, Peacock up until season 6, Tubi TV up until season 7, Amazon Prime up until Amazon Prime up until season 7 as well as The Bay, the beginning. And then Popstar TV you could see up until season 8 on demand, and season 9 is currently airing live every day. So all over the place.
A lot of places to view. A lot of places. It's,
Yes.
So, yeah, there's no reason why you can't be just binging it right along with us.
Exactly. Do want to go ahead and recognize Daniel Garrett, Eric Nelson, who made it to the Bay Championship in our Soap Stars March Madness tournament this year. Unfortunately, he was defeated by Bridget Forrester in that half-hour soap bracket, so she went on to the final four, but he came out on top in the Bay bracket. But either way, we're here to have fun. We're going to be going over season 5, episode 5 this week. And we're, if you haven't watched The Bay yet, follow them on Twitter at The Bay, the series. It's a fantastic show. And honestly, like I said, the reason why I made the logo behind me is because I feel it's like the ECW of soap operas. For those of you who are wrestling fans that know ECW, it went against the grain. It was hardcore wrestling, and they said a lot of stuff, but that's the way I see The Bay. They're really the first web soap. They started, I believe, on was it Vine or QB or Quibi or something?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So
I want to say Vine, but I could be wrong about that.
So all of those episodes were taken and condensed into half-hour shows and repackaged for Amazon Prime as The Bay, the beginning. So go check that out if you're going to start watching The Bay. Go check out The Bay, the beginning first on Amazon Prime. Then go into the series.
Part of the Bay cinematic universe. You got to check it out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you want to go in the comic terms. Yes. Also, folks, we do have a store on Threadless. So go to suds-media.com/merch. It'll bring you to our Threadless store. Yes, Kim has our one of our mugs. Every show that we have,
it's a very nice mug. I recommend.
Absolutely, I've got mine here too. They're all up there. All of our logos are up there to buy tons of merch, whether it's shirts or hoodies or tank tops, or they even have skateboards or backpacks, so it's all bunch of stuff. suds-media.com/merch is our Threadless store. Promote the show, help us out, and buy our merch. If you're a wrestling fan and you want to go ahead and buy some stuff from WWE Shop and want to help support the show as well, we are an official affiliate of WWE Shop, which is Fanatic Experience. Go to suds-media.com/wrestling merch. That has our affiliate link in there, and whatever you buy, whether it's a WrestleMania merch or Cody Rhodes merch or Roman Reigns or any legend, Hall of Famer, alumni, current superstar, NXT superstar, or anything from there, using that URL, suds-media.com/wrestling merch, gives us a commission and helps the show. All right. Kim, how have you been?
Been pretty good. Last night we got a chance to, cover, discuss Beyond the Gates a little bit. Looking forward to, diving in and discussing The Bay, live in person today. But, it was a good episode. A little bit, as you and I had kind of discussed prior to going live, bit of a slower episode. not
Yes.
a bad thing, but it gave us a chance to just kind of catch up with all the action that's been happening, in the previous ones, and kind of also there was, the episode was titled Naked Truth. So a couple steamy, it opened with a pretty steamy sort of scene
It
with
really did.
some very pretty people, because we had
Yep.
Tam and Evan, showing off their chemistry. And
Yes.
the two of them, I love their chemistry together. I think that they're just, they're fun, they're flirty, they're cute when Tam's not in ninja mode and running around like
Right.
crazy. So
Which I still have to make that shirt, Ninja Tamara.
yes.
But either way, it opened up very hot and heavy. Brandon
Oh yeah.
Beamer, obviously is, a veteran of soaps. He's on Days of Our Lives. And he also plays Evan Blackwell on The Bay. Him and Celeste Fiana. For those of you who don't know, Celeste Fiana is actually Christos' sister. And she's also one of the executive producers of the show. But she plays Tamara Garrett, and I'm telling you, those scenes were as close to softcore, Showtime After Dark as you can get without showing anything, keeping it PG-13.
Yeah. But it's like with soaps, you got a little Love in the Afternoon, you got pretty people. It's very on brand, and but yeah, just steamy, and kind of carried over. They had steamy little bedroom scene, then they Don't You Have to Shower Too, just kind of segueing right into that. Now definitely, episode kicks off on kind of that steamy moment with them, and then it cut right into Daniel and Caleb together.
Yep.
Who are also, shirtless, but it was a very different situation.
It really was. And we've seen Daniel in a number of these situations where he wakes up and doesn't know what's going on, where he is, what's happening. And we see that, he's sleeping normal on the bed and Caleb's sleeping upside down on the bed with his feet on the pillows. So they had a drunken night the night before.
Yep. Went to the drag club and the aftermath of all of that. And it was kind of like a funny jump from one to the other, and then even the music in the background I thought was just kind of comical, and just and then Daniel just doing the awkward sort of shuffle out of the gatehouse, just trying to, get out of there unscathed, right as Avery walks up to him and is just all like, oh, hey, what's going on? Because kind of picking up on everything, and starts lecturing him about hangover cures and everything like that. And but no, it was just kind of funny how it shifted from one kind of not awkward love sort of situation to Daniel just still being in this place with Caleb where not really sure of the relationship at this point, and kind of guarded about everything. But then you have Caleb, who's just all like, hey, hair of the dog, man, let's jump in the swimming pool. Let's just, he's content. He's happy. But, Daniel is still really conflicted.
And it seems to me like you do have that conflict, because Daniel's he's always been kind of an awkward character, whether it's the comedy relief or, just shy and whatever. But the awkwardness, he obviously feels an attraction towards Caleb. That is clear. And Caleb, portrayed by Mike Manning, who is now on Beyond the Gates, who's Smitty on Beyond the Gates. And I'm catching a vibe that Caleb is attracted to Daniel as well, but they're just not meeting. They're not syncing up because of their previous friendship from high school. Right.
And Daniel hasn't, he's still uncomfortable coming forward with his truth. He doesn't want. We had it, that scene with Avery where he straight up says don't say anything, don't let him know. And obviously, even going to a drag club or whatever and getting to all of this, there's still just kind of
what?
No, I saw some buffering going on. Are we okay?
Oh. Yeah, we're good.
Okay. For a second, I thought my internet was gonna screw up or something like that, but no, we're good. Sorry about that, folks. Yeah, no, it was just, you still have Daniel just so conflicted, and it's just kind of, you can see like he's like, there is an attraction there, but they're just not on the same level just yet.
Right.
But it's the start of their journey together, too. It's like, this is very early for them. And it's nice seeing kind of that slow development sort of when they kind of start coming to that real, because eventually they do, spoiler
Oh
alert.
yeah.
But it's just kind of nice to see like early stages of them because I'd kind of forgotten how they started. So it's kind of fun
Yeah,
going
it
back and
seems to
seeing
me
that.
like we saw Daniel on like his first date after coming out, and he was still very skittish, like didn't want to do any public displays of affection, or the other guy was too aggressive. Like he's
Right.
still, I don't want to say that he's necessarily in denial, but it's almost like he's just, um, I don't know, like he's still like very shy about it, very, oh, who's gonna judge me because of it, or who's, it's instead
Yeah.
of being like, I am who I am and screw it. Like as you can see, Caleb is.
Mhm. Yeah. No, it's been just, it's in it, but I do like, I appreciate their scenes together, their chemistry, and even kind of cutting to like the very end of like their scenes together towards the end of the episode when
Hmm.
they were at the diner and with the mimosa. I feel like my
Yeah,
head is going to explode on you. Some of the
yeah,
dialogue that Daniel gets and just the delivery there, I just love it. He's just that comedic sort of and Caleb is just pushing the hair of the dog really hard. He's just like, just drink more. That's the only way. And then you
yeah.
get Daniel just chugging back the mimosa, just being like, oh, all right, what the hell. But yeah, they're kind of like bickering over the bill, and then we do have it where Daniel finally sees Sara, after
Hmm.
her kidnapping and all of that, and they was like, oh yeah, by the way, this is Caleb, and he's staying at your estate. Hope that's cool.
Yeah, yeah. No, I love that. It's just like, oh yeah, by the way, here's this guy. I don't think you've ever met him before, but he's staying he's staying on the property. Like,
Yeah. And Sarah's
okay,
very gracious about the whole thing. She's kind of like, all right, yep, that's
yeah.
fine. All good.
Yep.
I think she's just happy to be back and,
Oh, absolutely.
getting croissants left and right and getting all that attention lavished on her and everything, which that made for some cute, those were some nice scenes. All like, everyone just kind of,
Yep.
rejoicing over the fact that she's back and like, her family and all of everyone just kind of checking in and, making sure that she's good and kept with,
Hmm.
Melody and the croissants though. That was just so cute.
Yeah. But yeah, no, they are doting on Sarah because she's finally back after basically a 2-season ordeal of
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
kidnapped by, um,
Girl was
kidnapped
gone
by
for a
first
long time
Abby.
wandering those woods. So
Yeah, exactly. But it's really nice to see the way the family kind of pulled together.
right.
Um,
It's
and
kind of like even when we were discussing Beyond the Gates last night, we were talking a little bit about just like the family dynamics, and you see
mhm,
that with the Bay too. You
you
just
do.
see all these people that are connected and intertwined, and the episode. This episode was a little bit slower, but it does like
Mhm,
establish just like that family unit that's there and how everyone's all like kind of connected and cares, and it's nice to see that like
mhm.
healthy mix of love in the afternoon, and then you have the family element in there as well.
Yes.
And that's just like, two, core tenets of soap opera right there. So it's cool
Yeah.
to see that in
No.
the span of one episode.
Oh yeah. No. It's definitely a great atmosphere for the show. And
Hmm.
hang on, I have to sneeze.
God bless you.
Thank you. Sorry about that. I hate when that happens when you feel it in your nose and you don't know when it's going to come. But
Yep.
anyway, um, yeah. So after that we do go into that family setting where where uh, Sarah is surrounded by her family.
Hmm.
Melody's there. Pete comes in.
Yep.
Avery, even Zoe is there.
Yeah,
And
Zoe was so cute when she's just like she's showing her like the article or whatever saying like Queen of Bay City, and then Sarah's like, I'm no queen, and then it's like, oh no, Sarah, you are. No, you're the
yeah,
queen.
she is that matriarch of the city, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. And,
Um,
she just keeps on reassuring everyone that, she wasn't hurt by, they keep on bringing up Adam, and she keeps on
yeah,
like sticking to her story that he didn't hurt me. He protected me. I need to see him. I mean, she is still full on dialed into, checking
Yeah.
in on her son because
Exactly.
he did make an I mean he got the crap beaten out of him and was making an effort to protect, and of course she needs to see him, but Pete kind of enters the scene at that point and is just all like, you need to worry about yourself, focus
Hmm.
on you right now. But of course,
Don't worry about
you're a
Adam.
mom. You're a mom. You're not going to hear that. You're not going to be.
Of course.
She's still all just like, nope. So,
But
but
then Pete kind of questions her about the chain, the locket, the
yes,
um,
yeah.
you know,
Because
I
I
don't think it was
appreciate
the
like
locket.
them kind of taking a moment that's just the two of them, just to kind
Yeah,
of chat and go for a walk and just kind of check in on each other and check in with each other and everything. That was a really sweet scene. But yeah, he does. He looks at the pendant, same as everybody else has, because Lex
yeah,
gave her like the same look. It's like, what are you doing with that thing? But
yep.
and she says it again, like I was just drawn to it. It seems, Jack or Jack, Steve made it seem like it was important, and
Mhm.
but he just, and then even Pete points out it's skeletal twin babies, and that's just weird.
Right. Yeah. But I
Like,
like how she says. I like how she says, "I'm going to bring it to an oracle and to have her look at it and whatever." And she's like, "I know that sounds crazy and weird." And then Pete's like, "Nah, I've been with Sophia so much that now I'm starting to
yeah,
believe." It's
yeah.
just,
You can tell they're kind of twining in this sort of like supernatural sort of element. You got the ghosts, you
but
got the
they're
relics, you got
kind
the
of
psychic
keeping it.
connection.
But they're kind of keeping it real. Like they're not going
Right.
so overboard like Days or
Oh
GH
yeah.
where
No, it's not.
there's
We're not going
an
to be
alien
seeing.
living above Anna Devane's house, or
Yeah.
somebody
Yeah.
blatantly
We're not going
coming
to see
after
like
that.
demonic possession from like
Right.
this pendant or something like that. But they are kind of twining in that element a little bit more in this season, and I it from what I remember, it kind of lends itself to us finding out a little bit more about Adam and like the origin story and all of this stuff and what happened on that island and everything like that. And there is, it's all going to kind of twine in, but I
Yeah.
like them kind of laying the groundwork for that with this pendant and the dark energy and all of that it brings. It's just like, yeah, we're drawn to it too, even though it's not. It's still all the pieces of jewelry. I know that like there's like obviously a meaning because like the twins and everything like that, but it's creepy. I'm sorry. Like I would not
Yeah.
be like that attached to wearing that thing if it was just especially if someone was like telling me, oh, it's got dark energy. The way that Sophia says that,
Right.
I'm just
No,
like,
no, you're
yeah,
absolutely
I probably wouldn't want to be wearing that thing around my neck. Just, especially considering the source and where it came from.
trying to find out who plays at like for those of you who are new to the Bay, if you're watching and you've never watched the Bay before, the character of Adam is probably the most recasted character on the show. It's in season 2, right? Season 2, season 3,
Mm,
season 3. Uh,
3. Yeah.
yeah, season 3. He's portrayed by Chad Duell, right? Or season
Right.
two.
I want to say
Uh,
3. I want to say it was a
yeah.
little bit later in the game because it was he kind of came into the picture after Pete and Vivian kind of really solidified their relationship. He was really in the forefront. He was kind of introduced, but I feel like it was season 3, and it
So
was right
so
around the
season
murder trial and
season
everything
two
too.
and season 3 was Chad Duell.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and then season 4 was some other guy who I can't
New
remember his
Adam.
name and can't even look it up because it just brings it up to Christos. But then Christos actually plays a dual role going forward in season, I assume 5 and 6 and beyond.
Well, there
Um,
is like, some twisty logic that kind of comes into play as this, that kind of explains the casting and how everything kind of shifts around. But
oh, really?
yeah, I mean, I'm not going to spoil anything,
Okay.
but
Yeah, no
I will
spoilers.
say there is some logic that kind of gets applied that kind of explains certain stuff, and it's not too far down the pike from what I remember. But I don't
All right.
remember all the details either. It's kind of like I'm revisiting as well. But I do
Um,
know there is some explanation as to why. But I mean, currently we have Adam is still. I mean, he's getting talked about and everything, but the guy's still in the hospital, and
right.
as far as we know, comatose or hovering
Well,
on
because
the
he had to give
get
blood.
yeah, I mean, he's got his brother's blood now, and hopefully that's helping him, but he's still not in a position to really. And Sara obviously still wants to go and check on him because,
Hmm.
he is the other on that skeletal little twin pendant, It's like,
see, it's almost like the yin and the yang. Pete
mm-hmm.
and Adam are the complete
Yeah.
opposites of each other.
And I know for a fact once we start seeing kind of the dual role, you
Yep.
definitely see, Christus does a magnificent job in that,
Oh yeah.
down the road for sure. Just seeing like him play like the dual sides of, it's yeah, testament to the acting for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep.
Either way, I'm enjoying. I enjoy the show. I'm so glad that I actually found it. I've been watching it now for over a year. We've been doing the show for over a year.
I know, it's crazy.
It is. But yeah, I'm enjoying the ride that the show goes on.
Definitely.
Um,
Definitely. It's very good at just, keeping up with like the twists, and it, every, beat counts for something. It's not
yeah,
like there's no like kind of dead weight. There's nothing that's just kind of dragging it, like, every, because still a short series. I mean, these episodes round out to be about like what, 20, 30 minutes tops,
about that.
you
Yeah.
know. And
Usually,
so,
our shows are longer than
mhm.
the actual episode.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I mean, it's so, and it's always just, but every beat is counted for, and it's, it just keeps the action going, and it, you're able to just kind of draw in these characters too, like, introduce folks
Hmm.
seamlessly, which, I really appreciate. It's not like an awkward sort of like heavy-handed introduction, it, like,
Well,
even, Caleb and Sarah's first interaction. It's just like, hey,
yeah.
yeah, by the way, this guy's living in your house.
Well, there
It's
was
just seamless.
one. There was a new character that debuted on this episode that was bam right in our face, and that was Justin Ramos,
Yes.
um,
Yes.
Liana's
And he just
brother.
comes right out the gate, very strong presence with this character. We did kind of, yeah, the Romantica sort of
Yes,
debacle, which,
I
that's another such a soapy trope. You got like the business
yeah.
stuff playing in the background too. And now there's all this conflict and, family tension because with Janice, you
Hmm.
know, uh, because Liana can never catch a break. I feel
Right.
like we need to incorporate that into merch somehow, like, long suffering Liana or something like that, because
Yeah.
this poor woman, I mean, it's like she's trying to find like a foothold in this business that was her mother's, that she kind of
Hmm.
thought that she was like, established at enough. And then all of a sudden, her uncle comes into play, Sabrina, and he's just, the way he was even talking to her, it's like he's almost like kind of talking down and just not,
Yeah.
just, and it's just like, come on,
Well, see,
just let,
he does seem to be very polished in a business sense. So like
oh
it
yeah,
seems
no,
like
he knows his,
he's an
yeah.
executive, whereas
Mhm.
Liana, we know, doesn't have that type of schooling. She was just literally working there as a secretary or something with
Yeah.
her brother. And and now that Janice is gone, it's like we find out that Janice apparently left the company to Justin.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and
Because even Liana says as much. She's like, even in death, mom screwed me over, which is
yeah,
just like another knife to the gut. It's just like, oh, because yeah, they kick off the scene and they show like, like them looking at all the new products, and Sophia is there and Riley's there. I love that Sophia's just kind of like, she must be like on the board or something like that. No, but
yeah,
I love like
that's what I'm
her
thinking.
involvement with that. Yeah. But like Riley's like, in full approval of everything that Justin's trying to do. But Liana like didn't even know about the meeting, didn't even know what
Yeah,
was going on. She's just like cut out from like that entire, situation. And, Justin tries to say like, he's giving you time to heal and all of this stuff, that it's like, no, he just, he's a business guy and he wanted to kind of swoop in and just kind of,
yeah.
make his case for
I
everything.
mean, I get it, and I can understand the empathy that he's showing, the veiled empathy that he's showing for Liana, saying,
Yeah.
you've got a lot of shit going on in your life right now, with the shooting for Will, and she's still fighting, going to the psychiatrist, and her mental challenges and stuff. She's going
Yeah.
through a lot, so I
No, she
understand
is.
this. Just he's trying to come in and spin it to the point where I'm taking this off of your hands so you can focus on you, but
Yeah.
she's not having it because
No, no. Because it's like
he
the
just
one
has
last thing
never
that
been.
she kind of feels like she still might have some like control still. And he even says like, stop throwing your weight around now that I'm in charge. And
Yeah,
I don't know, that line kind of rubbed me the wrong way. It's like, oh, you poor thing. It's just,
yeah,
because, and I love at the very end of the scene, they just do a close up on Janice's poster just
yes,
to kind of indicate like, yep, she's still in charge. She's still, still has, told, still has say in things, even in death. It's like she's still controlling, and the whole situation with Liana. But
And I love
it's just
how
you can't help but feel bad, because it's just like, it's one more thing that's like kicking the poor woman while she's kind of down. It's just like,
yeah.
come on,
And
she
then we
cannot
find
concentrate.
out, there's a page coming in. Oh, Tamara's here for a photo shoot, and Leon's like, "Oh, great! Now there's a photo shoot without my consent."
Yep. Yep.
but
And you
but
can
I
tell
mean,
it's just setting up for that tension between her and
yeah.
her uncle and all of this stuff. So it's very soapy, and it's very just, but
But my
I don't know.
biggest thing is like, wouldn't she have known if it was scheduled? I mean, unless she's been like so far out of the loop, because honestly, all last season she was dealing with her psychiatry, her psychological
Yeah.
issues, going back and forth.
I mean,
We
we
never
haven't
saw
seen
anything.
her. We haven't seen really much from like the romantica side of things in a
The
while.
way it was
So
being portrayed was that Riley was the one running it last
yeah.
year. You know?
Yeah, because they did show her doing that, like, photo shoot or whatever on the beach with
Yes.
Tamra, and that, and that was kind of like the last kind of glimmer we had of the whole business up until this episode. When
Yeah.
they kind of jump to the boardroom, it's a little bit abrupt. You're just kind of like, wait a minute, where are we? And then you're
Yeah.
just like, oh, okay, okay. It's like it's getting back into that world, because for a while it was kind of, backburnered a little bit.
Yeah.
But
Um,
yeah, now we're in it. We see like the family rivalry there. We see, and it's just, classic soapy tropey stuff. But
yes.
yeah, but Justin does come in like hot right out the gate.
Oh yeah.
The character's got a presence right away, and yeah, I still
And
feel for
I want
Liana
to
though.
see where they go with it, because he's clearly somebody who has that aura about him. Like he's a CEO type. He's an executive. He's got the gravitas, that has to be there to run a company.
Right.
Liana's scatterbrained at this point. So
Yeah,
um
she's pulled in
I
too
like
many different sort of
yeah,
situations right now where it's just not. But, it was one thing that she kind of felt like was still kind of hers, that I feel like another rug just got pulled out from
yeah.
underneath, and it's just like, oh.
Um so after we see um the family scene, Jack ends up leaving and going to visit John Blackwell. And
Yes.
we see that John is, first of all, John wakes up in the morning and here comes Orchid, like
Yeah. Yep.
like out
There's
of the
our
blue.
girl.
Like I thought Orchid. I mean, granted, Orchid is probably still, a prostitute, lady of the night, escort, whatever you want to say. And last we knew, she was with the reporter Nathan.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
We
now she's
haven't. Now she's kind of moved right on to, which, hey, like, seems pretty content. Seems like they had a nice evening together. But it
mhm,
cracked me up when Jack walks in, and you just remember that history, and like the like little pat on the face, little awkward kind of moment there. It's just like,
yeah.
oh, that's so messy. Oh, that's so soapy. But you love it. It's just,
and,
it was
and
just,
they share a laugh about it because Jack's like, yeah,
yep.
and John
Yep.
kind of smirks as if
Just,
like, yeah, we've had the same girl or the
yeah.
same.
Yeah. And Orchid just
But then
takes it all
again,
in stride. I love it.
but
Yeah.
that was kind of like the whole reason why they were estranged in the beginning, was that Jack ended up sleeping with John's wife. So
Right. Right.
so it's almost like history is repeating itself. Only this time Jack had her first, and then John had her, or whatever.
Yeah. It's just,
But
but now it's like, oh man, it just,
but then John
the
also
layer there.
framed. John also tried to frame Orchid for the shooting of Jack.
Right.
When she
Right.
so all this stuff is back. Watch watch the shows, folks. If you don't know the Bay, make sure to go watch it, because there are twists and turns galore. It's soapy goodness.
Yes. And it's just, it was just a quick little moment, a quick little scene. But for those who have been watching from, from the start, all those layers, and how complex and weird that history is. And just
Mm-hmm.
seeing it just kind of like lightly referred to in like, a cute, like a, little brief moment with Orchid
Yes.
and with these guys. It was so funny. It was just so just, but we do have it where, John Blackwell is kind of like, so, Sarah's back home, everything's cool, right? And then Jack
Yep.
is just like, nope, well, she's not safe because
Yeah.
Jensen is still around, but you have friends in high places, you could probably take him down, all of this stuff. And, you get, John Blackwell just kind of like, yeah, I probably could. You know, it's
Yeah.
kind of like that moment where it's just like, yeah, I could swing that for you. He doesn't really flat out say he's gonna like, ride, just storm in and
Yeah.
but it's implied. He's just like, yeah,
It
I can
is.
handle that for you.
And it's just
International man of mystery and all that.
right. And that's his character. Like, just how they come full circle with the character of John Blackwell. He comes in like a
Yep.
bat out of hell. He's trying to get back at his father. He's trying to he's like a bad guy, but then he kind of has a change of heart because
Yeah.
he's the reason why Sara went to prison in the first place. And then he realized, oh shit, I had the wrong person. And then he
Yep.
tries to fix it.
And then you have the
So
whole, Damien situation as well,
yeah,
where it's like, because of what happened with Marley and because of what happened there, it makes him more aligned to, want to help with Sara
yeah,
and kind of repay that debt to a degree and just, and now he's like, just our like kind of, man of mystery, yeah, I can handle this. I have friends in high places. I'm,
yeah.
leather jacket, vodka swigging, cool guy.
Oh yeah.
Because yeah, every time they seem to show the character, he walks into a scene and he pours himself some vodka.
Yes.
That
Yes,
seems
you're
to be
right.
like a recurring thing with him now. So, but
Um, all right. So let's see. The last thing we really have to talk about is I like how Pete kind of invites Sara to lunch. Sarah's kind of skittish about even having anything to do with Sophia, you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
and so he's like, just come and have lunch with her, and she cared about you. She helped a lot with the search for you,
hmm
and you know, after Sophia gets out of the Romantica meeting, she heads right over to uh, the diner.
yeah. And I love how Sara just flat out says, "I can't even remember the last time I ate here,"
Yeah,
because it's like she has what's his name, Vitali.
yeah,
She's got her Vitali and her croissants. I can't picture her, like just
right.
oh yeah, I'm gonna go grab a burger at the diner. It just doesn't, But
Yeah, it's beneath
and
her.
Pete just kind of well, the chili's good. I love
Yeah.
that was just a cute little moment with them. But
Um,
yeah, no,
and
Sophia
then
joins
Sophia
them
comes
for
in,
yeah.
and Pete says, "Hi, Grandma. Thanks for coming.
And
Thanks for
it was
joining
just
us."
a cute little moment too with Pete. He as soon as Sophia walks in, he stands up and he gives her a big hug.
Yeah,
It's just like, showing that respect and just, it's like, oh, you gentlemen, you're so sweet.
yeah,
But yeah, no, as soon as like, Sarah, and Sophia is just like a sweetheart to a fault. She's just like, I'm so happy you're okay. I knew that you would be, but seeing you in person is just so much better. It's
hmm
just like you're so cute. But and she's like, I have so much I want to share with you, but then like, all these visions of everything, but and then like, she's like you can tell she wants to kind of get into that whole like
yeah,
lore with Sara, but then she sees the pendant and immediately her like attention shifts to that and like she's zeroing in on its dark history, which just
hmm
it's like, oh boy, okay, if Sophia's getting spooked by this thing, then it's like there's something
yeah.
real there.
I mean, she mentioned that she's had the vision since she was a young girl, and she's always had a connection with the paranormal, supernatural, whatever you want to say,
Right.
and and then she says that pendant has a lot of evil around it.
Yeah. Yeah, she
So
makes and then you got Sara
clearly,
just kind of like at this point, yes. And again, if I was Sara, and this is like the third or fourth person that questioned me about this thing, and it's not that attractive a piece, I'd be like, okay, I'm just gonna like throw this thing out the
well,
window, like
my
I'm
whole
done
thing
now.
is my whole thing is you're trapped in a cabin owned or run or held by your ex-husband rapist who had your estranged son kidnap you. Why would you want to keep it?
Being drawn to it, and I'm sorry, but if all these people were saying, especially if someone like, I don't know, I put a little stock in that whole, supernatural kind of thing. If someone came up to me and said, yeah, your jewelry's got a very dark history, I'd maybe be like, yeah, you know what, maybe I'm just going to kind of, put this away for now. Maybe we don't need to
Exactly.
really, be wearing this all over town because, nobody wants that bad
Like,
juju and stuff like
okay,
that.
I will show you. I have an urn on by my desk, but it's not a real urn. It's from, if you can recognize the logo, it's something of the Undertaker's. So it's not a real urn, but I don't know if I would necessarily want to have an urn with ashes in my house because of we have our cats. My wife has her cat's ashes, but I don't know if I'd want to have a person like my father was cremated. And again, thank you everyone for all your condolences and everything over the past couple of weeks. My father was cremated. I'm not sure if I necessarily want to keep any of his ashes in my house.
I mean,
Just
it's there's like it's I feel like with that situation, it's like person's wishes, but if they wished and specifically said, "Hey, I want to be here," maybe I'd
yeah.
consider it. But yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat that you are with that.
But yeah, so I mean, obviously Sophia is spooked and she's got a connection to the other side. So I have to question Sarah's motives, but I'm anxious to see what comes out of it as we go forward.
Yes, yes, because it definitely, they've drawn a lot of attention to this pendant. Everyone sees. She keeps on saying she's drawn to it. Everyone has acknowledged it. There is significance there, and I know for it does kind of, there's lore and there's some, stuff involving Adam that is down the pike that
Mm-hmm.
gets a little bit, from what I remember, a little supernatural and a little bit trippy in some parts, and just kind of So it's definitely setting the tone though for some cool stuff, which and I love how like that was the cliffhanger, and it wasn't even like a crazy like like jaw
Right.
dropping, but it was still enough to keep you like, okay, what comes next?
Yep.
What's happening now?
And folks,
So
we will get into what comes next week.
yes, we will.
I'm not going to guarantee. Well, actually, I can't guarantee they'll be live because I'll be working next week at this time. But next week we'll probably be back to our pre-recorded schedule. But if you want to catch Dockside at the Bay early and ad-free, we normally record on a Tuesday night.
Mm-hmm.
Go over and sign up for our Patreon, patreon.com/Suds and Squared Circle. You can sign up. It's $5 a month. You will get Dockside at the Bay early and ad-free. As soon as we're done recording it, it goes up to Patreon. It doesn't come on YouTube or the RSS feed until Thursday. YouTube first and at 12 and then RSS at 1. But if you want it early and ad-free, go to our Patreon, patreon.com/Suds and Squared Circle. Sign up for $5 a month and you'll get it early and ad-free. And maybe we'll start doing it live again on Tuesday nights on Patreon. Something to think about, possibly.
Something to think about.
That's definitely something to think about. But folks, we are out of time. Kim, where can everybody find you?
So I am Misfit8690 on Twitter /X, and a Little Misfit 52 on YouTube, where we've been kind of, having some broadcasts and streaming, various episodes of, this as well as Gate Crashers. So feel free to check out that channel there as well.
Yep. And folks, you can find me at Vinny Suds on Twitter, at Suds Media on Twitter, Vinny Suds on Facebook, Suds and Squared Circle Media on Facebook as well. Go like and follow the page there. YouTube.com/@Suds Media, Suds-Media. And all of our stuff, suds-media.com is where you can find everything. And keep an open mind. Try to watch something new if you want to get into it. It is the Beta series. Check it out. Like I said, there's numerous places. Definitely go ahead and like this video, subscribe, hit that notification bell so that anytime, whether it's wrestling or soap operas or whatever is coming up on the network, you will be privy and get notified. A push notification directly to your smartphone will pop up, and you could watch us as soon as we go live for anything. Also, I do want to go ahead and point out that next week we will be back to our normal time slot. So Suds News at 8 p.m. Eastern Monday night, of course, against Monday Night Raw on Netflix. But we will be back Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern time for Suds News, 10 p.m. Eastern time for Gate Crashers on Monday as well. So next week, everything is back normal, but definitely go ahead and go to our Patreon, patreon.com/Suds and Squared Circle. Or if you just want to support the show, go to buymeacoffee.com/Suds Media. You could buy us a coffee, donate, whatever you want to do, help support the show so that we can keep bringing you quality entertainment and grow the network. And I do want to point out, the Bay is very closely associated with Samantha's Friends, the organization, that nonprofit organization we did the podcast-a-thon for in November. They do have two charity events, one in May, one in September. I will be at the September event, which is I believe it's a winter's night or how it's one of those themes.
I think it's the Halloween.
Yes,
Yeah.
Halloween theme. So either way, folks, I'll be there. I'm not sure if Kim will be there, but I will be there. And so will Gregory Martin, who is the creator of the Bay, the creator, the producer, the director, the writer, etc. And he's also working on Beyond the Gates as well.
Yep.
Busy guy. Chris will be there. Yes, very busy. Yep. But folks, we are out of time. We will be back with you next week as we sit dockside at the Bay. Have a great day, everybody.
Take care, everybody.